Look at your books on page 26. Open your workbook on page 26. Today we are going to continue with the workbook, Unit 3. We are going to finish the workbook together. So look at your books on page 26. 26, please. I think it is clear. Now here we have exercise L. Read the jokes and choose the best punchline. Underline, the punch word. Punchline. What do you mean by punchline? The punchline is the last sentence or, final, let us say, phrase of a joke. The sentence which makes us what? Laugh. So the final phrase, or let us say the sentence of final sentence of a joke, providing the humor element. This is what we mean by punchline. The punchline is the final phrase or the last sentence of a joke which makes us what? Laugh. Now here we have I think five different jokes. We are going to choose the last sentence which makes us what? Laugh. Okay, who can read the first joke and try to choose the, let us say, the suitable, let us say, punchline? Who can try? Who can try? Who can read? Yes, Sharif. Read the first joke, and I think it will be easy for you.
Okay. Four high school boys were late to their morning classes. After lunch, they reported to the teacher that they had a flat tire on the way to school. Much to their relief, the teacher smiled and said, "Well, you missed the test. So sit down and take out a piece of paper." He waited for them to sit down. Then he said, "First question.
What do you think the question that he will ask them?
Which tire was flat?"
Good. Which tire was flat? Because he will, let us say, discover whether they are, liars or not. Or what? Who was driving? So here we have two questions we can add as the punchline. Thank you. So you can write which tire was flat, or you can write here who was driving. Good. Who was driving or which tire was flat? Thank you. Now who can read the second? Yalla Abdurrahman Raid. Here Brian.
Teacher.
Teacher, yes.
Brian, what is the chemical formula for water? Brian, HIJKLMNO. Teacher, what are you saying? Brian, the chemical formula.
Good. The chemical formula. Or we can choose, look here. Well, you told us it is, H2O. You know that the formula, the chemical formula for water is H2O.
Yes, yes.
You understand it?
Yeah, it's like 2 the number and then O.
Good. H2O, this is what the chemical formula for what? For the water. So the teacher asked him, about the chemical formula, H2O. Water means, H2O. This is the chemical formula. But he misunderstood that, H-I-J-K until to arrive what? O. So, well, you told us it is H2O. So he misunderstood, the chemical formula. Or, as you said, the chemical formula. So you can choose the chemical formula or, well, you told us it is H2O. Good. Well, you told us it's H2O. Number three, the third, joke. Who can read? Who can read? Mm, Let me choose. يلا أحمد عزام.
Okay. Just give me a sentence starting with I. I is notice. Always say I am. All right.
All right. Uh-huh. The teacher said, Tess, give me a
I'm
sentence starting with I. I is, he will say, I
I'm
is
Tess.
ninth letter of the alphabet. But directly, the teacher interrupted him and said, Notice, always say I am. All right. Uh-huh.
I'm
I am
Tess.
the ninth letter of the alphabet. Good. I am. You understand it? Ah, the test wants to say that I is the ninth letter of the alphabet. He wants to use, to let us say, to use, sentence starting with I. He will say I is the ninth letter of alphabet. But, directly the teacher, interrupted him and said, I am. Always start with I am. Well, okay, I am the ninth letter of the alphabet. Good. Now let's move to the next page. The next, joke. Who can read the joke? Who can read it, please? Who can try? Ashraf, are you here?
Yes, Mister, I'm here.
Yes, read, please, the joke.
Um,
Class of fifth graders.
a class of fifth graders was riding along in a school bus, happy to be an education and
To be on an educational trip.
trip. Um, the teacher told them that they would write about what they saw for their homework. Most of them were looking out the windows and pointing to different things. All of a sudden, the teacher noticed that a boy was sitting on the floor between the seats with his hands over his eyes. Why are you sitting like that? Are you okay? Well, said the boy,
If I don't see anything,
anything.
I will not have to write anything, right? Good. So I think this is, the punchline. If I don't see anything, I will not have to write anything out. Good. Now, what about the last joke? Who can read? Who can read? Abdullah Amin, are you here? Abdullah Amin? Yes, please. Read the last joke, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, I ain't got no books. Young man, you mean I don't have any books? You don't have any books. We don't have any books. They don't have any books. Do you see what I'm getting at? I think so. What happened to all the books?
Good. Young man, you mean I don't have any books? You don't have any books? We don't have any books. They don't. So here you realize he used the pronouns. Do you see what I'm getting at? I think so. What happened to all the books? Good. Okay, so this about the jokes and the punchlines. Let's move to the next page. Here we have different questions, and these questions depend on you. Which joke do you think is the funniest? and this is, related to you. That's up to you. Some will say the first, the second, etc. For me, the first one is maybe the funniest joke. Which joke is the least funny? Most of them are, funny. What joke can you improve? How? Make any changes that you think are necessary. Sometimes you can add information about, the joke. Okay, now let's move to exercise J. Here we have a picture and we are going to brainstorm some words to describe the picture. Then we will imagine, to say, to write the words in correct sentences. Write as many words as you can to describe the picture. Imagine what the student is thinking. Write sentences to tell his thoughts and show how one thing has an effect on a second thing. In other words, we are going to use the comparatives the. Look at the example. The more I read about Ibn Battuta, the more I understand about his travels. Now here we have, the chart. We are going to fill or to choose verbs. Look here. Sit, careful. Think, quiet. Study, empty. Here we have different examples. Who can read the first one? Who can read the first example? Ahmed Taysir, are you here? Uday?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, Muhammad. Please read the example here. The more I study.
The more I study physics, the more questions I have.
But the more I study physics, the more, questions I have. Good. Now, if you want to write another example, can read. Abdurrahman, Adnan, are you here?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, Adnan. Read the second example, please.
The more challenging the topic, the more interested I get.
Good. The more challenging the topic, the more interested I get. Good. The last example, Yanal, are you
Can I
here?
read, teacher?
Yes, yeah, Muhammad.
Okay. The more I concentrate, the more analytical I become.
Good. The more I concentrate, the more analytical I become. Good. Now let's move to the next page, on page 28. Page 28. Here we have the writing section. You are going to write a joke. But again, here we have to, in other words, arrange our ideas. In order to write correctly, you have to follow these steps. Before you write, plan out the details of your joke in the chart. If you want to write correctly and to have, let us say, suitable joke, you have to add information according to what, to the chart here. You have to write the main characters, Ahmed, Khalid, etc. Where? At school. When? Let us say, in the break. Situation, sitting, outside, the class. Audience instruction, for example, your colleagues. Reality of the situation, talking about, let us say, the situation itself. Punchline, let us say, the sentence which makes the audience laugh. The punch word, the words of the sentence. So you can write, that's up to you. Now write your joke. When you finish, read it to classmate to see if it is funny or not. Okay. Now let's move to exercise L. Last time I think we talked about the wishes and regrets. And if you Want to talk about your wish in the future or in the present, directly we use the simple past. But if you want to talk about something happened in the past and you regret about it, we would use what the past perfect. We will use the past perfect. Okay, now look at the first one. Look at the picture. Use the information in the thought bubbles to complete the wishes and regrets for each person. More than one answer may be possible, you know. Okay, number one. Uh, Look, Fatma says, I don't know any funny jokes. Now, Fatma wishes what? We want to write the opposite. And we want to use the simple past for. Who can try? Who can try? What do you think? Yes, Sharif. Fatima wishes she
She knew
could
funny
some jokes.
jokes. Any funny
Good.
jokes.
She knew funny jokes. Good. Fatima wishes she knew. Here we have to use the simple past form. Funny jokes. Good. Fatima wishes she knew, sorry, some funny jokes. Now, what about the second about Nawal? You realize here we use the simple past. My sister didn't find the joke amusing. She didn't laugh. Nawal regrets that.
teacher, can I answer?
Yes, try.
Nawal sisters wish she knows joke music.
Nawal regrets telling her sister the joke. This is the first form. Or Nawal regrets that told that she had told her sister the joke. So here we have two answers. Nawar regrets telling her sister the joke, or Nawar regrets that she had told her sister the joke. Good. Number three, here Aisha, my sister never tells me funny stories. What do you think? You can try. You realize here, the sentence in the present. Yes, Uday?
Aisha wishes that his sister tell him a funny joke.
Would tell her, funny stories or
Stories.
jokes. Good. Aisha wishes her sister would tell her funny stories, not father, okay? Her sister, because she's talking about my sister never tells me funny stories. Aisha wishes her sister would tell her funny stories. Good. Now, what about number four? You can try. Badriya says, I have been studying all week for exams. I feel down. I want to feel happy again. You can try. Hmm? Can try. Badriya wishes that she could feel happy again. This is, one of the examples that we can write. Badriya wishes she could feel happy again. Okay, write, the sentences quickly. We have also number five. Number five, page 29. Here we have Hamid and Jassim telling his friend, jokes. So he asked him to stop. Look here. A student with a parrot on his shoulder leaves a lecture. This is Hamid, and Jassim says, I have one, a family mice, but Khalid wishes that they what? They would stop telling terrible jokes. Khalid wishes Hamid and Jasim would stop telling terrible jokes. Write it quickly, please. Write it, please. Now, if you finish, move to page 30. If you finish, move to exercise M on page 30. Okay. Remember when we talk about, the so and such, we said that so is used with adjectives and adverbs, such used with an adjective and a noun. Preceded the adjective and the noun. Look at the example. Who can read the example? Who can read the example? Uday, read the example. Circle the correct words to complete the sentences. Yes, Uday.
I was so amused that I cried with
Right.
laughter.
Good. I was so amused that I cried with laughter. Good. Number one, Ahmed Azam.
Okay. He was such a small child that people sometimes thought
Well,
he was a
such
baby.
uh, so good. Here we choose such because such is used with what? An adjective and a child. Good. Thank you. Two, who can try? Sharif. Sharif.
Okay. It was so long ago that I can't remember it.
Good. Because here we have what? Long. Long is an adjective, so we use so. It was so long ago that I can. Next, number three, can try. Yes. Yanal, are you here? Rahman, Musa. Naval, Usaid, number three.
Yes, teacher. She knew.
She knew.
She knew
Ah,
so little. She knew so little people that nobody noticed she was missing.
good. She knew so few people, not little, because people here is what? Is countable, not uncountable now. So we use a few with countable, little with uncountable. Good. She knew so few people that nobody noticed she was missing. Number four. Number four, who can try? Uh, Ahmed Haswani, Khalid, عاطف. يلا يا شباب.
Can I answer?
يلا.
Okay.
Look.
He looked like so much like a well-known TV comedian that people would often ask for his autograph.
He looked so much like a well-known TV comedian that people would often ask for his autograph. But
Teacher,
number five, yes, yes, Abdurrahman,
can I try next?
which one?
Fine.
Yeah,
Okay. It was such a funny show that I watched 10 episodes, one after the other. Such.
good, thank you. Yes, it was such a funny show because here we have an adjective and a noun. We use such with nouns. So with just adjectives and adverbs. Number six, Aday.
It was such a difficult test that many students didn't pass.
Good. It was such a difficult test because here we have a noun and an adjective. So we use such. Good. Number seven, the last. Can try.
Can I try?
Yes. Yes.
I was so tired that I don't even remember getting into bed.
Good. I was so tired that I don't even remember getting into it. Good. So this is about, the exercise M. Now let's move to the next exercise N. So here we are going to finish the sentences, about people you know. For example, look at the example. The TV show is so funny that everyone in my class watches it. Is so smart that, who can make a sentence? Who can make a sentence? Number one, you can try.
Can I?
Yes.
Ahmed is so smart that he can solve a math problem in less than 1 minute.
Ahmed is so smart that I, learn from that, can, help me in my exams, etc. Good, thank you very much. Number two, such a funny person. Talking about Salman, for example, Ahmed, Khalid. You can try. Ahmed is such a funny person that, makes us laugh, always telling us, jokes. Number three was such an enjoyable experience. Scuba diving was such an enjoyable experience that I couldn't, forget. So entertaining that. The TV series are so entertaining that, I watch every day. Was such a fun time. Last summer was such a fun time, that I would return back. So this is about, the examples. Here we have different answers according to you. Okay.
Teacher, that's homework.
We have a homework now. We have a homework.